Just hold it right there. It just does not matter. It doesn't matter what you want in life. It doesn't matter that you want to get rich or that you want to have relationships or that you want anything. And the reason it doesn't matter is because almost everything that people want is dictated by what everybody else thinks you should be doing with your life. Some people think that you should be getting as rich as the richest person in the world, and other people think that you should be sacrificing. And right now, what I know is there's people in the world that are going everywhere from ready to commit suicide to achieving their wildest dreams. No matter what your long-term goals and dreams are, the only thing that matters is how do you get through today? What do you do with today that by the time that tomorrow starts, that you're that one incremental step happier about you as a person? Every person on this planet is in their own experience. And that's the way it's designed. So in that experience, you have thousands of micro experiences every day. And then you have several macro experiences that might be a day, a week, a month, years, or decades. Now, the question is, right now, the only thing that matters is, are you happy with your experience right now? If not, then what can you start to change? What are those micro things that you can start to exchange about your experience today that's going to make a difference in 10 minutes, going to make a difference this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning? That's fully in your control. Change one tiny little thing and you're already happier about who you are tomorrow. Now, you can be happy about who you are today. It's not, if you're trying to change too much at once, it's not going to happen. And we all know that from experience. So if you're looking to conquer Mount Everest or become the richest person in the world, or just looking to survive the day, just look at one little thing about your thousands of experiences that you can have today and leave the bad stuff on islands by themselves and keep the good stuff on its own islands. Enjoy the good stuff and don't let the bad stuff contaminate what's going on in the good parts of your life. Because out of all the thousands of experiences every day, there's going to be some bad stuff, there's going to be some good stuff. And if you can keep them separate, if you can see that there's a distinction between the two, then you're already going to be miles ahead. So it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think you should do with your life. That's the way we were born, is everybody had a plan for our lives. There's religion, there's governments, there's business. Everybody knows exactly what they need you to do. But if you want to have some kind of happiness in your life, then you want to know what you want to do. And the place to start is to understand, in the experience you're having right now, are you happy? And if not, why not? And as you start to sort out the thousands of micro experiences that you're having all day long, sort out which ones that you don't want to have anymore and sort out which ones you do want to have. Focus on the ones you do want to have. Focus on seeing new things, new ways. Look at old things in new ways. And as you start to observe, you're going to see that there's many different ways that you can live your life that'll be an addition to what you have. And there's several things in your life that you're having that you just can let go of. And from there, day by day, your life improves, you become happier, and it really doesn't matter what everybody else thinks you should be doing with your life. You've listened to your whole life to what everybody else thinks. Now pay attention to your gut instinct, start to pay attention to what your heart tells you. And as long as there's a caution with that, when your heart's telling you that you're so depressed that it's time that you end it all, then it's time to observe things in a new way. And the best thing I can suggest is if you go to John Verway 2020, and there I've got in about a 5 or 10 minute video something called the natural thought process. And if you're dealing with anxiety and depression, what's happening is that the natural thought process, you're taking it in the wrong order. So real quick, I'll go through that. The natural thought process is that we observe things. That's step one. There's 5 steps. As we observe things, then we feel inspiration. As we feel inspired, then we get ideas. They become heartfelt ideas. So let's say we're mildly inspired about something. Now we have this heartfelt idea. But what happens next is the universe delivers a thought to us, delivers action thought to us. We get an idea of something that we can do the next step. Now, if we take that next step, then what happens is this process just keeps turning like a wheel. We make new observations. Then from the new observations, we get new inspiration. From new inspiration, we have stronger heartfelt ideas. From there, we get more action thoughts, and it keeps going. But what happens when people go into anxiety and then they slip into depression is they've stopped observing things, and they're observing the same things over and over. And from that constant re-observation, what's happening is people are seeing just the negative, and they keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into negative. And so what happens is, in the natural thought process, when people stop observing new things, they stop being inspired. So then they start feeling negative, they start feeling anxious, because our spirit is no longer feeling it's living its purpose. And as our spirit starts to get anxiety about that's not finding purpose, then we slip into depression. And then from there, then the next thing is we start to observe a lot of negative things, and then we start to get negative inspirations. And this is what I'm saying, it gets dangerous, because now instead of having positive inspirations, we have negative inspirations. The negative inspirations lead people to suicide. And so when we realize we have this fully in our own control, then just through thoughts alone, what we can do is start to create a new outcome. We can start to observe new things. That means that if we're seeing something that could be interesting for us, something positive, so we're seeing a new experience that could be inspiring. For some people, it's weight loss. For some people, it's making money. For some people, it's helping other people. Whatever it is for you that inspires you, when you're mildly inspired, now you've made a start, because the next thing is the universe is on your side. It's looking to help you to accomplish what your dream is, what your inspiration is, and it delivers you action thoughts that help you to reach your target. So now, if you're only mildly inspired to lose weight, then you're going to have only a low amount of confidence. And with that low amount of confidence, the likelihood is that you're not going to be able to go very far with that, with your weight loss attempt, or with making money, or with anything. But the moment when you start to observe more, and now you let your inspiration build, and the more you observe, then the more you're going to get to what people call your why. But to get to your why means that you have to observe enough things that actually matter to you. And if you're not observing things that are mattering to you, then you'll never find that critical why. So it's really more about the inspiration, finding your inspiration, and you can measure your inspiration. Just how do you feel? Do you like how you feel about what you're seeing? And if you don't, then that means that you have to observe more things if you want your inspiration to grow. So then as you're observing things, and as you're observing old things in new ways, or you're observing new things, now what happens is you start to come away from anxiety, you come away from depression, because now your spirit, which is a very active part within you, without your spirit, you're a physical corpse, dead. But as long as your spirit is there, then we're able to talk and act and do everything that we do. And as long as our spirit feels that inspiration, feels that purpose, now our life starts to go back on track. If we're wanting to be happy, if we're wanting to be away from anxiety, away from depression, then all what that takes is that our spirit is alive. And as our spirit comes back to life, our spirit comes back to life because it's found purpose. And that's why when I said earlier on that people talk about finding purpose, and how many people struggle with finding purpose, and how many people find they're just unhappy, and they just don't find any value in life, and it's just boring and exhausting, and it's going nowhere. Of course people feel suicidal, but there's been nobody in the system teaches that the natural thought process, that we go from observation to inspiration to heartfelt idea to the universe delivering action thoughts. Our spiritual being, our life energy is not a physical being. Of course, we have our physical being, but we have this whole spiritual side, this life energy side that's helping us or wanting to help us. And our system, our society teaches us to block that out. For example, if you take a kid, 5, 10 years old, and now they observe something, they're inspired, they're wildly inspired, the way kids are, right? And then what happens is, so they get this action thought and they take action, and what happens? Our system says, no, sit down, be quiet, take your medicine, you're out of line. Look at how all these other kids have been duped into believing that they should be quiet, and now we want you to be like that too, and if you can't be like that, there's something wrong with you. So that's where we're at. So if you think that you have a better chance than everybody else escaping that kind of mentality, the path now is go back, take back control of your own life. And that starts with you observe things, you feel things, you're either inspired or you're not. And if you're not inspired, observe more things. And then as you're observing more things, your inspiration will tell you if you're on the right track or not. And once you're feeling inspired, and the more inspired you are about what you're doing, then the more confidence you're going to have. Now, this isn't something that you force your level of inspiration up. What happens is that you observe your level of inspiration, and if you're mildly inspired, that's okay. It's the start to something. You've got this new experience that's starting, and we don't know what that experience is going to be. That's the joy of having a new experience. So then as that new experience starts, then the next thing is, as we're observing more about that experience, more related to that, then what happens is our inspiration grows. And as we observe our inspiration growing, so we're fully in control of our life, what we're doing, what we're observing, how we're feeling, how we're inspired, then we have strong, heartfelt ideas about what we want to do. And now as that inspiration grows naturally, then comes the confidence, because the more inspired you are to do something, the more confidence you're going to have to accomplish that. So for example, take a look at Jeff Bezos, Amazon, great example. He saw something that inspired him. It inspired him wildly. He saw a change to the way retail world should be. And then he took one action after the other. And every time that he took new actions, he observed new things. The universe gave him new action thoughts. And we know where Amazon is today. Of course, with the COVID virus and us all sitting at home and a lot of the delivery systems shut down, of course, that's a new experience for him at this moment. It's a new experience for all of us at this moment that we're not getting our Amazon stuff delivered right now, this minute. But to go back to the beginning, it does not matter. What matters is that you know that governments, religion, business, all have a purpose for your life. And that's wonderful. I'm not saying to go against any of those. What I'm saying is that understand that if you're going to find your purpose, if you're going to find your happiness in life, then you have to recognize that what they want for your life and what you want for your life may be two different things. As they say in German, zwei Paar Stiefel, two different pairs of boots. Because once you start to look at see, your spirit is going to be dead. Your spirit is going to say, I've had enough of this. And why is that? Because your spirit is no longer inspired. And why is your spirit no longer inspired? Your spirit's no longer inspired because you've stopped observing new things. And once you can start to observe things and observe all things in new ways, the sheer number of things that you start to observe, something is going to trigger an interest for you. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. Because in the whole process, let's take this little capsule separate. In the whole process of everything, just the fact that you want to be inspired is an inspiration to be inspired. So now you've lit the fire. What's happened is just knowing that you want to be inspired. You don't have a clue what you want to be inspired about, but you know you want to be inspired. You've lit the fire. What's going to happen is over the coming days, over the coming weeks, months, once you know that you want to be inspired, that's not going to let go, because that's your spirit. Your spirit is looking for something, and as long as you know that you want to be inspired, you're going to keep looking, and you will find what inspires you. And I don't suggest people what they do. I only give you the tools of how to do it. There's people find inspiration in making huge amounts of money. There's people that find inspiration in running businesses. There's people that find inspiration in volunteering. There's people, the world has so many opportunities to find what inspires you. There's 7.5 billion or probably 8 billion people but each person has the same set of tools, what I've called the life tools. There's 24 life tools, and it starts with exactly what I've described here. You're gonna observe things, you're gonna be inspired. That cycle goes over and over. Once you understand that cycle, now you can say, okay, well, I feel lousy today. I just don't feel, life is just absolutely blah. Great. You've already started the process because you've made an observation. And from that observation, what happens is now you're going to get an inspiration. Now, you can stop that process short because you can stay in that thought process of saying life is lousy, and you'll prove to yourself that it's lousy because you'll find everything, you'll be observing more and more and more lousy things. And then what's happening is in that process, your spirit is withering. Your spirit is dying because it's being drained of everything that it came here to find. Your spirit came here to find the good things, but in order to find the good things, that means it has to observe the bad things. So if you can take your focus and just shift it just slightly and know that, first of all, you're fully in control of your life. You don't need somebody to come and save you. All that happens is, let's say that you're so desperate and you're looking for somebody to help you, somebody just to reach out and say, hey, you matter. Okay, what's happened is that in the natural thought process, you've used the natural thought process wisely, that we're talking here eye to eye now, that we're communicating. Because what's happened is you made an observation that you feel lousy. And from that observation, you got the inspiration from that observation, you got the inspiration to find this video. The universe connected you to something. You had an action thought. So from the observation, you got the heartfelt idea, and then you got the action thought to watch this. And now you're catching this, you're hearing this, and you're saying, okay, so you can see just by that alone that you've already got the system working. You're already in control. As weak as that may seem at the moment, you're already in control of your life because what you've proven to yourself that you observed that you were feeling absolute lousy. You were ready to commit suicide. You're just totally depressed. But you're not ready to give up yet. And so what happened is because you made that observation, then you got that inspiration, that tiny, tiny little bit of inspiration, which led you to this, to hear this message. And from this message, now what's happened is now you make new observations. So the new observations, you know now that the more positive things that you observe, the more things you observe, and knowing that you want to be inspired is already inspiration enough. You've already made a huge change in your day, and you'll come to see that you've made a huge change in your life from a split-second difference in just understanding that the observation led you to the inspiration, led you to the heartfelt idea, led you to the universe showing you here's something you can do to take you closer to what you feel in your heart. And from that point, now you're observing new things and you're observing different things. And you're saying, okay, maybe it's not all that bad. Maybe I'm just not seeing enough good things. Maybe I need to start looking at what else is possible. So this is what leads, like I know from my own case, this is why I spend time coaching people for free. The last 4 or 5 years, I've had the ability to just spend a lot of my time while I'm building business to do a lot of coaching on every topic. There's over 5,000 people a week read the answers that I put out on places like Quora, on my website, johnverway.com. And it's how I arrived at creating this 30-point self-test. So the point of the 30-point self-test is that through these questions, multiple choice questions, people can sort out where they're at in life. And with the report, the free report that we send back gives you some idea about what's possible in your life. Things that may not have been obvious to you, but because through the way that I've structured the questions, they become obvious to us. And from there, you have a new observation. You get to see, okay, so yeah, that's true, that's interesting. We're not trying to tell you something that how you should live your life or what you should do. It's purely based on what you're saying about who you are. It's just reflecting back in a mirror what you're saying about yourself. And when you hear it from a different perspective, then that gives you a new observation. And like we've just discussed, new observation leads to new inspiration. New inspiration leads to heartfelt ideas. Heartfelt ideas leads to the universe delivering exactly what you need in order for you to accomplish what it is that you're inspired to accomplish. So let's wrap this up with a quick review, and that is, it just doesn't matter. Everybody has ideas about what you should be doing with your life, and the only thing that does matter is what do you want to do with your life. Everybody is having their experience today. They're having thousands of micro experiences, and they're having a part of a macro experience, or maybe a macro experience, it depends. And out of all those experiences, when you can separate them like little islands and keep all the bad experiences to themselves on their own little islands so they don't contaminate all your good islands, then you start to see your day in a different light. All of a sudden, the sun is shining on a lot of islands, and there's a few clouds hanging over some islands. Where do you want to spend your time? In the cloud, in the rain, in the dark? Or do you want to spend your time on the islands where you've got all the good stuff going on? And even if there's only one tiny little island in your day today that has something positive going on, focus on that island. And the next thing you know, you're going to be observing more and more and more good little islands around you. And that's how life works. So let go of everything about all these ideas about what you have to accomplish and all the ideas that everybody else has for your life and what business wants you to buy from them and what religion wants you to follow them and what government wants about everything. Follow the logical things. Follow the things like, I mean, a government, I'm not saying go against the government. What I'm saying is don't let it be the focal point of your life. Let the government do what the government does. Let religion do what religion does. Let business do what they do. And now let you do what you do. Let you be guided by your spirit. Your spirit knows when it's inspired. Your spirit knows when it's negatively inspired, and it knows when it's positively inspired. And if your goal is to live the life experience that you came here to live, then start by taking control, start by observing, continuing to observe. You've already started to observe, that's what got you here. And now, if you're finding value in this message, then you may find value in following up with going to my website at johnverway.com and take the free 30-point self-test and get the free report. And then that'll lead to new observations. New observations lead to new inspiration. And now you're back on track. You've got knowing that the most important part of all of this is that you have the tools, you have the key, you have the control over what you're doing. You always have had. It's just that it doesn't feel like that some days. It just feels like everybody else has control. And that's because up until the point when you discovered that the natural thought process and how it's supposed to work, then everybody else had control over your life. and you were wondering why you were doing a poor job with your life. The reality is, and this is powerful, because it gives you the freedom to live what you came. It gives you the freedom to live what you came here to live. You're not reliant on anybody. You yourself have power. It starts with observation, which leads to inspiration, which leads to heartfelt idea, which leads to the universe, which is always on your side. It's always on everybody's side. And it's going to give you exactly the action thoughts that you need, directly related to your heartfelt, inspired idea. That's how it works. It's not complicated. And now that you know the system, now that you know how it works, it's your choice whether you use it. I'm not telling you how to live your life or what to do with your life. I'm just giving you the tools so that you control what happens. There's no reason for you to have another minute that isn't completely satisfying for you. Let your spirit live. Let your spirit grow. And let it grow the way that it feels right for you. That's all that matters.